Hello friends, in this video we've got news from Poland. President Nawrocki has become extremely active, signing some things in rapid succession and refusing to sign others. Let's talk about new laws, what has happened in education reforms and so on. We'll discuss freedom of speech on the internet, and even a little scandal like this. The court in Gdansk is starting to question the notary in the case of the mysterious presidential apartment. We'll figure it out now. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Friends, thank you so much for your support. Give a like to support aerodynamics. Click the bell. Now let's get down to business without any ads. Today on our agenda, we have a classic simultaneous game on several political chessboards at once. So, at the start of July, the president of Poland, the legendary Nawrocki, went on a real decision-making spree, reviewing 8 laws at once. He signed 5, sent 1 to the Constitutional Tribunal, and vetoed 2. Let's break down this legislative picture. What was signed is more or less clear. Technical things like simplifying energy regulations, the European arrest warrant, and protecting citizens' rights in criminal proceedings. But where the refusals happened, that's where real drama and political debates unfolded. The main blow was dealt to the revision of the education law. The essence of the reform, which was adopted by the Sejm at the end of May, was to create the institution of ombudsmen, that is, in fact, defenders of students' rights in all schools going forward. Plus, a change in the school punishment system. It's a good thing. Well, it seems so. There will be defenders of children's rights, so there will be less bullying and so on. Not sure. Comment if bullying happens in Polish schools or if that's just nonsense. President Nawrocki took the podium and said, "The decision is right, but the execution falls short. You can't work like this. You lack the necessary skills." In his opinion, instead of protecting children, the project breeds bureaucracy and leads to the ideologization of education. Moreover, the president came up with an excellent metaphor, calling the new structures a school prosecutor's office chasing anonymous denunciations. Nawrocki reasonably noted that schools need stability and the authority of the teacher, not turning every pedagogical step into a legal dispute, and he vetoed it. Of course, youth organizations immediately reacted, and there's a guy named Pavel Mrozik among them. In short, thunder and lightning, and Mrozik says, "Your veto is a political assassination of the youth's agency and dignity, and the position itself is cowardly, since the law was the result of many years of discussion." Write in the comments how your school kids are doing at school. At the same time, the president sent the excise law to the Constitutional Tribunal, and here the motivation is rock solid. You can't change the rules of the game every 2 weeks, giving businesses only 14 days to adapt to something new. So, what do we have in the end? President Nawrocki clearly positions himself as an arbiter who defends common sense. Here, he saves businesses from tax chaos, and there he saves schools from turning into extensions of courtroom litigation. And his opponents, of course, well, that's always how it works in Polish politics, and not only in Polish politics, accuse him of sabotaging reforms. We'll see how the Sejm tries to override all these vetoes. Well, that's how things are. Friends, what else stood out to me? Yes, the laws are signed. We've briefly outlined the main point, but we also have 2 more great pieces of news, which are also related to the president of Poland. Look, I actually never... Okay, let's not talk about that now. Let's get straight to the point. In August of 2025, a district council deputy from the Polish People's Party, PSL, Wojciech Ślusarczyk. In short, he saw a photo online of the First Lady, Marta Nawrocka, where she was depicted as a fairy tale character. The deputy decided to make a joke. He reposted the picture and wrote, "And where is Shrek?" Well, it would seem just a joke, my God, a joke at a middle school level, maybe even a bit lower. But that's not the end of the story. Polish justice gets involved, encouraged by a vigilant entrepreneur, and he's close to the PiS party. And the state machine, which according to the president is supposed to guarantee freedom, we're in a free country, right? Starts turning. An official investigation is launched at full speed. And the investigators, well, my God, there's crime to deal with, right? There are no other problems in Poland. Some Ukrainians occasionally cause minor trouble, but otherwise there are no criminals and investigators have nothing to do. And they start studying the genealogical tree of all these green ogres from pop culture. A linguistic analysis begins. The state spends thousands of zlotys, I think 5,000 zlotys, from the taxpayers' pockets. The state, by the way, doesn't have its own money. All of this is money from our taxes. And the state spends thousands of zlotys so that a qualified linguist with a serious face can write an expert opinion. Is comparing the president to Shrek and his wife to Princess Fiona a criminally punishable insult? Interesting, right? Deputy Slysarchik is officially being charged. He faces up to 3 years in prison. The deputy himself, well, obviously he realized which way the wind was blowing. He says, guys, I just love Shrek. Fiona's a great lady. I didn't mean anything bad at all. But the wheels are already in motion. The case has been sent to court. And now, friends, let's move to January of 2026. On January 9th, if I'm not mistaken, the president of Poland, Karl Nawrocki, makes a strong move. He vetoes a law that was supposed to introduce common pan-European standards in the country, the DSA, Digital Service Act. The government presented the law as a shield against pedophiles, scammers, fraudsters, and all sorts of toxic digital junk. It would seem like a good cause, right? But Nawrocki says, hold on, wait a minute, this isn't protection, this is censorship. And he vetoes the law, blocks it. Like our state is supposed to guarantee citizens the right to say, write, and post whatever they want on the internet, and not to suppress freedom of speech with excessive regulation. That's how it was in January. And by the way, at that moment, across the ocean, Mr. Elon Musk is happily clapping his hands and writes to Nawrocki on his social network X, bravo. So the progressive public, of course, says, wow, look at you, Polish leader, well done. You are Europe's leading paladin of free speech. On the one hand, yes, and by the way, at that time I think I didn't like it, right? As a citizen, I seem to have the right to say so. Yes, I just don't like it. I don't think this decision is premature. Can I say that or not? Probably, well, according to some people, I can't say anything at all. They think I shouldn't even breathe Polish air. That's how it is. So what does it mean? On one hand, Mr. President blocks European directives, protecting the right of Poles to freely express their opinions in the digital space. So if you write a scurvy seeming no you fucking Ukrainian, well, that's freedom of speech, right? Right? That's how it turns out. On the other hand, in this very same legal system, a person is dragged to court for a meme about Shrek, because that's just how the legislation is. We have an article. Everything here is according to the law in a rule of law state, insulting the dignity of the head of state. So this is the situation we get. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So the internet seems to be free. Censorship shouldn't be allowed. But if you crooked-toothed peasants make a joke about the top official on your internet, then the prosecutor will come, bring an expert opinion for 5,000 zlotys, and book you a 3-year stay behind bars. So, friends, what is this? What does this even look like? Write in the comments if you know. Well, I think, actually, never mind, I don't think anything. I agree with all the decisions of Polish law. Whatever the court decides, that's how it will be. That's it. And the taxi driver I ride with says, well, they just use the law exclusively as a club against their opponents. That's it. If Slysarchik were a deputy from PS, well, probably no one would have even noticed this meme. People would have already forgotten about it. But because he's from the opposition, well, buddy, you're going to be standing trial. Lawyers and human rights activists are, of course, sounding the alarm right now. Let me remind you that, in general, political satire is the foundation of any democratic society, and the prosecutor's reaction is absolutely inadequate. But that's how it is. These are the realities here, my friends, right? I remember in one country they blocked the show Kukli. Does that remind you of anything? So, the Polish political elite managed to have it both ways. They want to look progressive. Progressive fighters against censorship, so that Elon Musk would give them a like, and at the same time have the right to put people in jail for memes. We'll be watching the trial. Let's see. Maybe they'll even ban Shrek in Poland altogether. Alright, we also have another fascinating story involving Poland's top leadership friends. It's taken on a new dimension. It's an old story, but as they say, it continues. You see what's happening, right? So, this meme was released last year too, but the case caught up with him only now. That's how it is. We're going to talk about President Karol Nawrocki's famous old man studio apartment and the new procedural steps. Let's reconstruct the chronology of this whole housing and political drama. During the election campaign, some intriguing details about Mr. President's past surfaced. It turns out that back in 2012, the Nawrocki couple made a preliminary agreement with an elderly gentleman from Gdansk, Mr. Irja. The essence of the deal is simple. Nawrocki buys a small apartment from the pensioner at a very attractive price. but with one condition: he undertakes to provide lifelong care for the elderly man. However, it turned out later, as the rumor has it, of course, we don't believe this information at all. All these screenshots, all these newspapers, they write whatever they want. We don't believe it. There you go. Later, it turned out that Mr. Ursi hadn't been living in his apartment for a long time, and the staff of the state nursing home had taken care of him. The opponents immediately raised a fuss. Nawrocki himself denied all the accusations. He says, "I honestly helped the old man for years. I believe him absolutely, 100%. So why would I need this studio apartment then? I just gave it away to charity." Right, we believe him. I agree. I have absolutely no complaints. I don't even have any questions. Right, but the wheels of the investigation are already turning, and now the district prosecutor's office in Gdansk is digging into this case, quietly poking around. Article 286 of the Polish Criminal Code, fraud. Investigators have already questioned 39 witnesses, but they've hit a legal dead end. Because the key witness, the notary who handled this deal 14 years ago, is staying silent. Citing professional confidentiality. Well, I think it's kind of like doctor-patient confidentiality. Here's a recent update. The Gdansk Pulmut District Court has taken an important step. It has officially released the notary from confidentiality obligations and allowed him to be questioned as a witness. That's it. The ruling is not yet legally binding, but the investigation has already been extended. What does this mean, friends? It means that the Polish investigators have gotten the key to understanding what actually happened. And now it all depends on the testimony of this notary. Now, whether the president himself will be summoned for questioning as a witness or not depends on that. Share your predictions in the comments, and we'll update you as the story develops. Well, as you can see, it's easy to fend off the accusations. My God, I gave away this apartment. I didn't need this apartment at all. I just gave it to some charity foundation. What's the problem? Well, it didn't work out. Let's see what the revelations of the Gdansk notary will lead to. Well, in general, of course, they're interesting. Telling, in my opinion. So, friends, please leave likes and write comments. I hope you found it interesting. If you watched up to this point, much respect and a huge thank you to you. Friends, that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Share your city in the comments. It's important. Greetings to everyone listening at work. That's all. See you next time.